How's it going, YouTube? My name is Elvin7, your resident Mistweaver monk, and guys, I am back from vacation, and with the recent gutting of Healing Elixir, yes, they're going to change it, hopefully back to what it was before. I thought, what better time to make a video like this, kind of going over some of our worst talents, our non-used talents, and just talking about how they can be fixed, how they can be changed, what makes them less competitive, or just if they're overshined by their counterpart, by what they share a dual node with. And let's go ahead and start off by just talking about Healing Elixir really quick. Now, Healing Elixir in its current state, this is live. This is on 10.1.7. It's fine. We press it, we get 15% of our health back, got 2 charges. The charges are 30-second recharges, and they are off the global cooldown. So this is great for just topping ourselves up or just giving ourselves a little boost, a little extra effective health and big slams of damage. Now, what they've done to it is they've made it a 100% passive talent. We no longer can press this button or plan around pressing this button, getting that 15% health. You would have to wait until you fall below 35% health in order for the game to press it for you to consume one of your charges. So the current state of this is just abysmal. In Mythic Plus currently in 10.1.7, you press this like 35, 40, 45 times per dungeon. Now, if you use the 10.2, the current iteration of the 10.2 completely passive version, you'll be lucky if you get it like 5 times in a dungeon. It's not very good as is. So that is kind of what sparked this whole video, is talking about talents like Healing Elixir that maybe could see a change like this. Maybe they've been meta in the past or just haven't ever seen the light of day. Let's go ahead and talk about some of those talents. And let's start it off with our monk talent tree. Now, some of these talents, it's difficult to scale these talents to where they're at a good point for all 3 monk specs. You look at some talents like the Expel harm talents, they're so much better for things like Brewmaster than they are for us Mistweavers. So it's just hard to scale all of these to be good for Mistweaver. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the worst ones. So first up, we're going to talk about Bounce Back. Now, you never take this. It says when a hit deals more than 20% of your maximum health, you reduce all incoming damage for the next 4 seconds by 10%. Now, already a 10% passive, just if it just said you have a 10% damage mitigation, that would be very good, just taking 10% less damage. The problem here is that there's a stipulation. That stipulation doesn't occur a lot, just like this Healing Elixir one doesn't. So how often are you hit by more than 20% of your health? I mean, not too often, to where even if it was just that, if every time you were taking every time you took 20% or more of your maximum health, starting with that hit, you would see that damage mitigation. Then we would have more of a discussion. The problem with Bounce Back, though, is after you take the hit, you get that damage mitigation. So how often, the question becomes, how often are you taking more than 20% of your health as damage, and then in the next 4 seconds taking even more damage? Usually it's just one big spike of damage, or maybe like 2 big spikes of damage. Yes, you'll see this benefit, the 10% less damage, and the second spike in that case, but this just comes up so rarely that this talent it never sees play. It never ever sees play. And then next up, we have got to talk about what is underneath it, and that is Summon Black Ox Statue. Now, this talent, they ideally, they wanted you to have one statue that kind of tuned to one of the monk specs. So White Tiger Statue, that's Zwin, and then Black Ox Statue, that's Nuzao, and then Jade Serpent Statue, that's Yulan. So you wanted to have like your Mistweavers use this, your Windwalkers use this, your Brewmasters use this, but the thing is, I don't even see Brewmasters use this. I don't think right now, I think Brewmasters do so much damage and they don't really have threat problems. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong down below, but to provoke a statue, then the statue takes all the threat. It's just very awkward, and especially for things that are not Brewmaster. This is so niche that it just does not belong on the monk tree. There's no world in which a Mistweaver or a Windwalker takes this talent. Even Brewmasters shy away from this talent because it's just so weird. It's such a weird button that they don't need, so why would they take this? The only time I've ever seen this be a good talent is in gold farming, believe it or not. People go AFK and just target their statue and just taunt it and let them get all the gold farmed to them. Very weird talent, but The reason why I bring it up is because it lacks the versatility that White Tiger statue and Jade Serpent statue have. So there's a world where a tank, a Brewmaster, might want to roll away and just start a Soothing Mist channel on themselves for like a quick second just to get an extra healing going into a pack. Or there's a world where like a Mistweaver wants to do more damage. Like these are just versatile, whereas this one, you never want to take threat as a Mistweaver. Just a weird talent nonetheless. All right, next up, I kind of alluded to them earlier, but the Expel Harm talents. Now, these I wanted to give a quick honorable mention to because they are all just so bad for Mistweavers, because Expel Harm is almost never worth pressing. It's just never worth pressing, to be honest, because there's always a better way to top yourself up. Currently, Healing Elixir, but even if you have a Vivacious Vivification off cooldown, where is that? It's over here. If you have this ready to go, you just vivify yourself, you get more healing than an Expel Harm. So it's never worth taking. So these talents you shy away from. So you got your Vigorous Expulsion, you got your Profound Rebuttal, and then you have your Strength of Spirit. You never take these, even if for some reason you planned to press Expel Harm, maybe it was how you plan on topping yourself up in a world where you just don't take Healing Elixir, these still just are not efficient for Mistweavers because there's no modifier. Like Brewmasters, their healing is increased by how many orbs, their Expel Harm healing, I should say, is increased by how many orbs they have out. Ours, we don't have any synergies with that. There's just no way to boost Expel Harm. Now that I guess that technically the synergy is that we can do it while we're channeling a Soothing Mist, but even then, it's just not worth it to press. It's never worth it to press Expel Harm over a Vivify because of all the Vivify synergies that we have. They just always outweigh pressing the button Expel Harm. And then next up, we have, this is the last one that I'm going to talk about on the monk tree. We have Elusive Mists. It says reduces all damage taken by channeling while channeling Soothing Mist by 3%. It goes up to 6% if you put 2 points into it. Now, you would think with how much we channel Soothing Mist in our raid build and our Yulon build, you would think that this might actually be a fine talent, but it's really not. At the maximum value, you could plan around having a 6% damage mitigation just by channeling, getting your ramp off and then channeling Soothing Mist during the big bang. But the problem with that is we usually, a lot of times, we start our ramp to a point where right as that big bang happens, we usually start that channel of Soothing Mist like right after that, or it's just hard to plan around that always. Now, if you have pulled a boss a bunch, maybe you're reprogging, you're one of the world first guilds, and you're taking down a boss for like the 20th time, you've got your ramps down to the millisecond to where you can get full value out of this. Even then, you're still just getting 3% mitigation. And with how many defensives we have on our tree, we just have so many there, even diffuse magic, that you can reliably cycle between these three in a raid fight and be totally fine without needing this extra 6% that requires. It's just clunky. You don't always get it when you need it. And yeah, there's a lot of buttons that we stop channeling our Soothing Mist for, like Rising Sun Kick, where and it's just not reliable to plan on channeling a Soothing Mist at every big spike in damage. And even then, the 6%, how often does that 6% damage mitigation save you? So it's just an odd talent. And then in Mythic Plus, it goes without saying, because we just, unless you're Soom Weaving or unless you're doing the caster build, then there might be more of an argument here, especially if you're pushing at the top end and you need to pass those pass-fail checks of, does this slam of damage kill you? Then maybe you might want to optimize by taking this. But even then, you don't want to always have to plan around channeling it, like channeling a Soothing Mist in order to take 6% less damage. It's just not that worth it. Really quick mention, I got to talk about Song of Chi. I love this talent, and it only really has one good use, but that is the incorporeal ads, the ones that you have to, usually you paralysis them. But this one is very weird. It takes a similar amount of time to cast this spell as it does for those to like spawn up out of the ground once you see the indicators of where they're going to be. So usually if you roll to a point to where you can shoot this through both of them, you can usually put them both to sleep. Now this is very weird because, I'm still not sure if it's a bug. Usually the AoE CCs are not supposed to work for the Incorp ads, but this one does. And I don't know why, but it's something that I take only on that week. And even then, only sometimes, only if I know that a lot of the time I'm going to be accountable for both ads. then I'll take this. Like if there's only like me and one or two other people in my group that can handle incorporeal, outside of that, this talent is just it's never better than Ring of Peace. Like truly, it's never better. It's just outshined by its counterpart. All right, now let's go ahead and kick off the Mistweaver talent tree. So we're going to start off with accumulating mist. Now, we all know that if you take Zen Pulse, you can apply this to an ally. It'll pulse a big pulse of damage around them. Now, it doesn't do too much damage. Where the damage actually starts to add up is when you take one of these talents underneath it. And Echoing Reverberation has basically always outshined its counterpart, Accumulating Mist. Even when Echoing Reverberation required you to have not just an Enveloping Mist, a Renewing Mist, it took 3 GCDs of setup, it was still better then. And that just goes to show you that how bad Accumulating Mist is. Now let's look at Echoing Reverberation first. It says if you have an Enveloping Mist on that ally that you Zen Pulse, it'll basically do 180% effectiveness. Now, Accumulating Mist says Zen Pulse damage and healing is increased by 25% each time Soothing Mist heals up to 6 times. So you can get it up to 250% of its normal damage. Basically, you can get it to hit 2.5 times if you have 6 stacks of this Accumulating Mist. Now, at the surface level, you probably think, oh, well, Accumulating Mist doing 250%, whereas its counterpart, Echoing Reverberation, only doing 180%. How is that worse? How could that be worse? Well, it's that very weird text underneath it. It says, when your Soothing Mist channel ends, this effect is canceled. So that means if I'm to channel Soothing Mist into myself, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then I press Zen Pulse. That's how you get that max value. You have to channel a full length, almost a full length Soothing Mist into one target in order to get that maximum value. So it all of a sudden, it becomes a lot worse because you have to let it sit there and tick. You have to let your Soothing Mist sit there for at least 5 ticks in order to get you from a 75% bonus up to that 100% bonus that outscales the accumulating or echoing reverberation of 80%. And all that time that you're sitting there channeling a Soothing Mist, if you were running echoing reverberation, you could just be spamming spinning crane kicks, and then all of a sudden the few GCDs that you're pressing during that Soothing Mist channel cause you to do a lot less damage, even if you do get that full bonus of 250%. So in order for this to become a competitive talent, either that percentage would have to be boosted up a lot. So maybe it did, so maybe it said like 33% boosted healing per stack, and then it stacked up to 6 times, and then you can get what, like 300% effective Zen Pulse instead of 250%. Then there's more of a discussion, but then the question there is that 120% extra bonus that you're getting from getting the fully stacked Accumulating Mist over the echoing reverberation, is it still worth it over pressing just like a few spinning crane kicks, while in the world where you took Accumulating Mist, you'd be channeling a Soothing Mist and then pressing Zen Pulse and getting that boosted damage? It's just there are a lot of question marks here, and none of them lead to an answer of this talent is worth taking. Also, how often do you get to sit here and channel without a swirly spawning under your feet for 6 whole seconds? I mean, unless you're just lucky, or unless I'm doing something wrong, I am always kicked out of my Soothing Mist in order to move. So yeah, Accumulating Mist just is not it, although it has one of the coolest symbols of all of our buttons. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Essence Font. I know a lot of people are always asking questions like, why are there no Essence Font buffs? And then we're also going to talk about like Upwelling and like things like Font of Life that buff Essence Font. Now, Essence Font, it used to be a major source of healing back in Shadowlands, but a lot of that is from that last line, that Gust of Mist will heal affected targets twice. And that is because Essence Font is only really powerful when the rest of our healing, if we take out Essence Font, like other healing sources, if they don't outscale the mastery procs that we can get from like a Chi-Ji build, for example. As you know, if you're on your Fey line, you have 3 targets to hit. If you Tiger Palm 3 times, or I guess press the button Tiger Palm twice, and then use a Blackout Kick, it cleaves, it hits 12 times. Because you have all the stacks of all of your Fey line buttons, and then you get 48 procs of your mastery from those 12 buttons if they all land on people with essence font. So you're probably like, I mean, that is an insane amount of healing. That's part of the reason why Chi-Ji is the go-to pick in Mythic Plus, because it just gets insane mastery healing, especially if you're lucky enough that one of like your Phaline bolts hits someone and applies the essence font hot on your allies. But we live in a world currently, like I said, if essence font wants to be good, that playstyle has to just outshine all of our other ways of healing, and currently it does not. Currently, the Invigorating Mist, spamming Renewing Mist, extending those Rapid Diffusion Renewing Mists with Rising Mist, and getting a ton more Renewing Mist out with Yu'lon using the Rapid Diffusion talent. All of that goes together to make the Invigorating Mist ramp the Vivify hit so hard, to where now you're just incentivized to play a playstyle like this, where you want to spike at like 15 Renewing Mist out in your raid group so that your Invigorating Mist does so much healing. And then the question there is, does Essence Font fit in that build? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Although it can apply a hot to like almost your entire raid group, it can double your mastery procs on almost your entire raid group. It can make your revival mastery hits hit twice. I mean, there are some upsides, but the problem is, once again, do those upsides outweigh the other upsides to the other buttons that you could be pressing at any given moment? If you were trying to optimize your play at the top level, you have to think about every single button you're pressing. If I press Essence Font right now, am I getting more healing than if I just press a Vivify on someone? And the answer is almost always no. Same with Rising Sun Kick. There's always more of an argument to press Rising Sun Kick than there is to press Essence Font at any given moment. And then you have to kind of just ask yourself that for each button, and Essence Font is way further down on the totem pole in terms of how much healing it actually adds versus how much mana, how much time it takes to channel, that it's just not competitive currently. So what could they do? Now, they've already basically technically buffed the initial heal that Essence Font does when it first hits people by buffing Font of Life. They've also kept upwelling in the game to where now you can hit more people, channel Essence Font longer. You can now use Thunder Focus Tea on Essence Font. So they've added a lot of stuff into it, but it's just that the hot is not competitive. The actual healing it does per mana, per channel time that you have to spend using this button, it's just not efficient enough. It just does not cut it in a world of Invigorating Mist, Rapid Diffusion, Rising Mist. So until they make it more worth it to press, they make it more worth the time spent to channel it, the mana spent to cast it, it's just not going to cut it. And how would they do that? Simply just adding more healing to the hot, decreasing the channel time, maybe making this like just a button you just press and it spews out, make it like a 30-second cooldown, like a Refreshing Jade Wind. I don't know what they could do with this button, but there are a lot of question marks around this button, and a lot of people miss this button. But there's also a lot of people that want to see this button completely removed because of how powerful it has been in the past and with playstyles like Chi-Ji and Raid. So, you know, it's a very controversial button. I hate to use that word because it's like there aren't high stakes here, but it's just this button, to put it simply, is just not as efficient as basically any other button in any of our other playstyles. All right, next up, we're going to talk about not a talent, but we're actually going to talk about a spell, and that is Crackling Jade Lightning. You know, for the past couple months, I think someone corrected me in a video saying it's Cackling Jade Lightning, not Crackling Jade Lightning. So I have been saying Cackling Jade Lightning until this exact moment. You guys saw it live on camera. But anyways, channel Jade Lightning, causing a little bit of damage over 3 seconds to a target and sometimes knocking back melee attackers. It's just, look, you can't even see it on my bars. It is just a channeled dot that does like no damage, like actual no damage. And there's literally never a time where it is more worth it to sit there and channel a Crackling Jade Lightning than to press a button as weak as Tiger Palm, because at least that Tiger Palm adds an extra blackout kick that then has an extra chance to reset your Rising Sun Kick. Yeah, if your focus is damage, you are never pressing Crackling Jade Lightning. The only instance is if you're pushed completely out of melee, cannot reach with any of your other damaging sources. Chi Burst is off cooldown, or I guess on cooldown, and you just have no way to do damage. You don't have to do any healing at all. then if all those boxes are ticked, sure, it's, I guess technically it's the best possible button you could press then. And even then, it's like, is it better than just going ahead and applying some hots to people? So it's such a meme of an ability, and it's because one, it does no damage. I always say it's like peeing on your enemy. Yes, like pissing on your enemy, because it does nothing. Now, some of the PvP, I know that Mistweaver has like a slightly larger PvP player base than I thought it would, but a lot of them like this because there's added utility in like lightning lasso, I think is what the PvP talent is called. Maybe I shouldn't look for it here on the video, but it has some, maybe that's I actually think that lightning lasso is like a shaman thing. But anyways, crackling jade lightning has some implications there because it can knock people away from you. But it's just so bad. It is just such a bad damage option. And we already are limited to basically only 3 in our main single target rotation, then spinning crane kick and AoE. So not having an option that we can use in range that is more efficient to press, more damage per second channeled, it's just a shame. Just buff this button, make it do damage, make it to where we can use crackling jade lightning on our jade serpent statue to make it do AoE damage. Like maybe it works with like unison or something. I don't know, just add some more viability to this button, because it is a meme and a half. It's honestly one of the worst buttons in the game. And I guess the only reason why we would ever press it is to try to pull something from afar. And our provoke is either on cooldown for some reason, it's an 8-second cooldown, or we just don't want to have full aggro. We just want to tag it so it starts walking toward us. But even then, this button is such a meme. All right, next up, I got to talk about easily the most disappointing talent on our tree, in my opinion, and that is Overflowing Mists. Now, Overflowing Mist says that your enveloping mists will heal a target that they're on by 1% of their maximum health each time they take damage. Now, what's the issue here? That sounds great. You know, if you're spreading your enveloping mist, if you're extending them with rising mist, this should add up to a lot of healing, especially if 1% of the 544,000 or up to 1 million health that everyone has. This should add up to a lot of healing in a raid fight, right? Well, no, and it's kind of disappointing because if you look at our 10.2 tier set, it says like the Chi Harmonies will store all healing and then disperse 20% of all that healing. It uses the same terminology is what I'm trying to say. It says all healing. This says each time they take damage, any amount of damage. If I take a tick of 1% of my health and damage, if I have an enveloping mist, ideally shouldn't I also then be healed by 1% of my health? The problem with Overflowing Mist is it just does not do what it says. It says each time you take damage, but how it really works is it only does that healing. It only will apply a heal to someone if they take direct damage, and it's very weird. There are some sources of damage that work, some that don't, but to put it simply, this will, if you use it in a raid, if you put Enveloping Mist, say in a theoretical, hypothetical situation, you have an Enveloping Mist on your entire raid group, only the tank that is tanking the boss, in most cases, will see any benefit from Overflowing Mist, and it's such a shame. It's such a shame. Now, ideally, you're probably still thinking, oh, well, still then, you're still doing 1% of a tank's max HP. That's got to be good healing, right? Well, no, it's if anything, if you put both points into this, you're still sacrificing basically 3 points. Well, I guess technically you do take uplifted spirits in some scenarios, but you're sacrificing 2 whole points where you could get much more healing even out of doing something like Resplendent Mist. So it's so annoying that this works like this. And I think I want to take now to talk about this problem. Up until recently, I felt like there are a lot of bugs or just things that don't work correctly as for Mistweavers. Some things work in our favor, like the Nourishing Chi bug. Some things work in our favor, but they just go unnoticed by the dev team. It feels like they just let it sit in the game for a while, and Overflowing Mist is a great example of that. Up until recently, they've just allowed things like that, like our tier set. I was afraid. I was fully ready to accept the fact that our new tier set in 10.2 was just going to be put in the game bugged and just not work with a lot of sources, and they were just going to forget about us. But it's nice knowing that there are devs out there listening recently at least and recognize issues like that, things that do not work as they say. But I think Overflowing Mist is still under that same category. It does not work how it reads. And if you're the same dev that heard the outcries of all the Mistweaver monks before about the tier set, listen to this. Overflowing Mist, it's a sick talent. It reads like a sick talent. It works like a bad talent. It's a horrible talent. It's probably one of the worst talents in the entire game, how it actually works. And it's a shame because, like I said, it would be so cool if it worked how it read. And on that note, I do want to say, look, like I said, there are some devs at least listening to us, even if not my videos, even if they're just reading the forum posts or watching some of the other bigger content creators. At least there are devs listening, specifically to Mistweavers. So make sure your voices are heard, especially if you agree with me on some of these talents that we're talking about today. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts on each of these, because you're not just letting me know. Hopefully, I would hope there is someone out there that works for Blizzard that is watching my videos and taking note of some of the thoughts that you guys have. So yeah, voice those opinions down below. But while we're at it, let's go ahead and jump to the next one. And that is one of my favorite talents in the entire game, Refreshing Jade Wind. Now, I know some of you guys disliked the video, unsubscribed, and clicked out of my video as soon as I mentioned that, because some people hate this button, because for most of us, it was a big part of our rotation back when we were running Fallen Order. It just did a lot of healing because it was on like a 9-second cooldown, I think, and it lasted for like 9 seconds, so you could have it up 100% uptime if you really optimized. I'm pretty sure it was like that frequent, but it just did a lot of healing and was very efficient. And then coming into Dragonflight, they've nuked its cooldown. I think it's at a baseline 45-second cooldown. It lasts 11 seconds, so with my haste, I can have it up about a third of the time. Every time I press this button, it'll heal 6 people by about 33,000 healing, so I can do about roughly 190,000, around 200,000 healing every time I press this button. So on paper, that's good. One global cooldown for over 6 seconds, about 200,000 healing. How could that be bad? And it just does not fit any damage profile in the game. Maybe you could take this button into heroic rating and do fine, because there's a lot of smaller ticks of damage that this would get more value from. But the problem is, Mistweavers, you bring a Mistweaver to a raid to ramp, and its counterpart, Mistwrap, is there for the ramp. You're getting 10% bonus healing into your ramp with each enveloping mist. They're lasting longer, which allows them to be extended longer to funnel more healing into your ramp. So it's just more worth it in almost every scenario, even Mythic Plus, to just take Mistwrap. Now the question is always asked, like I said earlier, what's the opportunity cost of pressing this button? Should I, at any given moment, should I press this button, do technically about 200,000 healing over the next 6 seconds, or should I just go ahead and press a Vivify in that global cooldown? And just like before, just like with Essence Font, yes, you're doing a good amount of healing, but the cost is greater. The opportunity cost is way too high. You would rather just continue on your rotation with that global cooldown. If you were to spend it on a Refreshing Jade Wind, then what if you would have pressed it on a Tiger Palm that then reset your Rising Sun Kick, whereas in the world where you do press Refreshing Jade Wind and then press Blackout Kick, you don't get that reset. So the question is it more worth it to press this button than any of your other buttons? And the problem is, this playstyle is, this Yu'lon 1 minute ramp playstyle is just so tight knit. It's so starved on global cooldowns already that you can't fit in other active buttons that just don't add to the playstyle. And that's why Refreshing Jade Wind is sad. Now, I am sad because this also just does not see play in Mythic Plus. And I think it's so much fun in Mythic Plus. But once again, in Mythic Plus, you'd rather spin that global cooldown, maybe pressing a spinning Crane Kick and AoE packs, or on a boss fight, maybe spinning that to channel a Soothing Mist and just do more healing that way with your Vivify Cleave. So unfortunate times for us Refreshing Jade Wind fans. But those of you who clicked off the video, hopefully you're still here, because I did throw some hate on this button. All right, next up we have Peaceful Mending. Now this is another one that you can put 2 points into. It says allies targeted by your Soothing Mist receive 25% more healing from your Enveloping Mist and Renewing Mist effects. So it just increases the healing of your HOTS on that target. Now this button, this talent is more worth it if it would work with Jade Serpent Statue and Unison. And that's where I'm actually calling you guys, because now that I'm reading this, I am thinking, does it work with those? Does it work with Unison and Jade Serpent Statue? That is something that I honestly, that has skated by me. I've not even tested that at all. So I'm very curious to see if it does actually work. If it does boost that, then maybe there's more of a discussion. But the problem here is, a lot of our healing, like some of our biggest healing sources. This is like a Mythic Plus key. It's Shailun's Gift to Ancient Teachings. And then way under that is our first hot Renewing Mist. So you just don't see good hot healing. And then in Raid, it's got to be Vivify. It's our Invigorating Mist healing. Does so much healing that once again, you just don't see a lot of usefulness or effectiveness of this talent. Even when you put 2 points into it, seeing 50% bonus healing from your hots into one target, that's still just not worth it at all. So it's just why is it here? Honestly, our talent tree would look so much cleaner if this was literally just removed. You literally never take this, and it's such a shame because it could say while you're channeling Soothing Mist, all of your hots do 50% more healing, and boom, that's probably our next tier set. Because I don't know, that it just seems like that's what they've been going for in our recent tier sets. But yeah, Peaceful Mending is a meme. It's just not very strong at all. It's a shame. You do get more value out of this in Mythic Plus content since you're boosting the healing to one person. 1 in 5 is greater than 1 in 20, but still, even there, it's just how often are you channeling Soothing Mist? And first off, why are you channeling it in Mythic Plus that often to get enough value to run this talent? You shouldn't be. But let's go and talk about the last talents of today's video. And those are, I'll give you a hint, or I'll let you go ahead and guess it. What talents do you think I'm about to talk about? You all got it right. It is these T talents here, Tea of Serenity and Tea of Plenty. Now, these are cool. I was actually excited about these when Dragonflight first started. They basically make your Thunder Focus Tea boost your next 2 buttons. And actually, let's go ahead and talent into one of these. All right, I was excited about these talents because they boost, if you run this plus Cloud of, or Thunder, Focused Thunder, oh my goodness. If you run both of those talents, your Thunder Focus Tea, look at my mouse, my cursor, you get these. The first 2 are that Tea of Plenty, or I guess, yeah, the first 2 are the Tea of Plenty. I got randomly procced. I got Renewing Mist. My next Blackout Kick will be, or Rising Sun Kick will be boosted, and then that Thunder Focus Tea icon just shows me that any of those Thunder Focus Tea, it's a versatile one. I can use it on any, and then yeah, I'm still left with my Rising Sun Kick. The problem here, yeah, you get a bunch, you can get so many buttons boosted. Combined, if you're running both of these talents, you could get the next 4 buttons boosted if you use all Thunder Focus Tea buttons. The problem here is that they are random, and it just does not add a lot of healing. It honestly doesn't. Like, imagine taking this over Awakened Phalanx and Mythic Plus. Why? You're just missing out on so much. Even if every single time, if you're running like a caster playstyle and every single time you get like an Enveloping Mist proc, then even then you're still just missing out on so much healing. It's just the counterparts to this. It's on the Keystone tier. It's on your final tier. It has to have an impact. You are spending so many talent points just to get down to it. It's got to have an impact. Like this, like Rising Mist has an impact, adds so much healing. Things like Unison and Raid add a good amount of healing. It's just these talents are never good. They are fun. They are like the lottery. I like to call this the lottery build or the slot build, because you're basically cranking the slot machine, hoping to get whatever buttons, and then just basically, if you have a weak aura like I have on my cursor, I'm just pressing Thunder Focus Tea and just seeing what I get. Just what buttons do I get? Okay, Enveloping Mist, Vivify. Oh, not Vivify. Wait, was it Vivify? And then, boom, there we go. That's all I got. I mean, like I said, it is fun. It's a fun talent, but just it's not Keystone worthy. It should either get out of here. It should move and be replaced by Fallen Order, in my opinion, or be moved down like here. Like swap with one of these talents that actually belongs there, like Revival. Swap with Revival. That's horrible. Don't do that, because we want to take Revival early in the tree. But like, you know what I mean? It just does not have the Keystone effect. It does not add as much to, like, say, Legacy of Wisdom and Mythic Plus. Hitting all 5 people, that's impactful. That is a Keystone talent. Tea of Serenity, Tea of Plenty, they are not Keystone talents. And yeah, I am sure I am not alone in thinking these are just memes, do not belong here in the Keystone slot. Let me know down below what you guys think. And guys, with that, we're going to call the video. I've talked about enough talents. Did I miss any? Are there any other talents on here that belong in this video? Because we have some stinkers. We truly have some stinkers on our tree. Also, am I completely wrong about any of these talents? Are you a die-hard Tea of Plenty fan? Let me know that down below, and I will see if I can give these another shot, see if I was wrong. But yeah, I like having these discussions with you guys. I love these style videos. You know I am passionate about Mistweaver, and I appreciate you guys for sharing my passion and letting me make these kind of like stupid videos, honestly, just stupid discussion videos, because it's what I enjoy doing. It's what I love. It makes me happy, and I hope that it makes you happy and you guys enjoy watching it. But guys, I am very appreciative to you guys and all of your support lately. I'm gonna go ahead and flash the Patreons on the screen. If you see your name here, thank you so much for making this channel everything that it is today. You are absolutely hard carrying this channel, and if you want to see your name on this list, if you want to help me out, check out my Patreon. That link is down in the description below. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, you might as well throw a like up. Even if I said something controversial in your opinion, just throw a like on this video. It helps me and my videos get seen by more people and helps me live my dream of being a full-time YouTuber. Thank you all for so much support lately. I really appreciate each and every single one of you that's still here. Go ahead and subscribe on your way out so you see more of my content. I've said this before, but there is a lot of 10.2 content coming your way. You won't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.